Forget silver bullets. Forget full moons. Between the 15th and 18th centuries, Europe wasn't just burning witches, it was hunting werewolves. Real people were accused of transforming into beasts, killing children, and making pacts with the devil. Many confessed, some begged for death, others claimed they weren't evil at all. Welcome to the Werewolf Trials, a forgotten chapter of horror where myth and madness tore through medieval Europe. In a time of plagues, famine, and religious terror, Europe was desperate for scapegoats. Witches were everywhere. So were heretics, and now, monsters. The church believed evil could take physical form, and that Satan had foot soldiers in the flesh. And wolves? They were symbols of chaos, fear, and death, the perfect vessel for the devil's work. So when livestock vanished, when children went missing, when bodies were found mangled in the woods, someone had to pay. That's when the trials began. Bedburg, Germany, 1589. A town gripped by fear. Children vanished. Livestock found torn apart. Whispers spread, not of men, but of monsters. And then they arrested Peter Stumpp, a wealthy farmer, a respected man, the kind of neighbor who smiled at your door and slaughtered in the dark. Under torture, he confessed to unthinkable crimes, killing 16 people, men, women, and children, eating their flesh and making a pact with the devil. He claimed the devil had gifted him a magical belt, one that let him shed his human skin and become a wolf. He described his transformations in nightmarish detail, flesh tearing, bones contorting, a hunger rising in his throat that drowned out all reason. His trial was short, his sentence brutal. He was strapped to a breaking wheel, his limbs smashed with red-hot pincers. Then he was beheaded and burned. His daughter and mistress were executed too, not for what they did, but for simply being close enough to call him family. It was vengeance disguised as justice, and a warning to anyone who strayed too far into the woods, real or imagined. Children were vanishing near the French town of Dole. One by one, gone. Torn clothes found near the forest. No bodies, no answers, only whispers. Whispers of a beast that hunted after dark. A creature with human eyes and animal hunger. The terrified locals had only one explanation: a werewolf. And soon they found their monster. Not a snarling beast, but a man. Gilles Garnier, a hermit who lived alone on the outskirts of town. A quiet figure, isolated, strange. The kind of man people noticed only after something went wrong. When caught, Garnier confessed to the unthinkable. He had killed at least 4 children. He claimed he ate their flesh and even used their fat to make an ointment. Some believed it was witchcraft. Others said it was madness. But Garnier, tortured, broken, desperate, told a different story. He said he had been given a salve that allowed him to transform into a wolf, that he would stalk the woods faster and hungrier than any man, that the need, the craving, became too strong to resist. His trial was swift. The villagers wanted justice, or vengeance, or both. Gilles Garnier was burned alive, not as a man, but as a warning. A monster wearing a human face. Not every werewolf story was soaked in blood. Some were stranger, more complicated, and not rooted in evil, but in something else entirely. Latvia, 1692. An old man named Thiess of Kaltenbrun stood before a court of judges. He didn't deny being a werewolf. In fact, he proudly admitted it. But unlike the others, He claimed he wasn't a servant of hell. He wasn't cursed. He wasn't damned. Thiess said that he and others like him transformed into wolves not to hunt children, but to descend into hell 3 times a year to fight the devil himself. He described battles beneath the earth, where they stole back stolen grain and livestock, wresting it from the hands of witches and demons. He claimed they were hounds of God, sacred guardians of the harvest, protectors of the people. The court was baffled. Judges accused him of heresy, because if werewolves could serve God, what else might they have misunderstood? Thiess refused to recant. He stuck to his story, strange as it was. He was ultimately punished, but not executed. A rare mercy, perhaps, or a moment of hesitation in the face of something they couldn't explain. His testimony rattled the church, not because of what he'd done, but because of what he challenged. For centuries, the werewolf had been a symbol of chaos, evil, and the devil's hunger. But what if, just once, the wolf was the hero?
How do we explain this? Did people really believe they were wolves? 3 main theories have emerged: psychological trauma and mass hysteria. Life was brutal. War, starvation, death. Mental illness and psychosis were misunderstood and often treated as demonic. Some may have believed they had transformed. Others were already killers, hiding behind myth. Torture confessions. Once you're being stretched on a rack or burned with irons, you'll confess to anything, even turning into a monster. Ergot poisoning. A mold on rye bread that causes LSD-like hallucinations. Some experts believe it may have fueled visions of beasts, demons, and transformations.
The church didn't see werewolves as isolated cases of madness or myth. They were part of something bigger, darker, a vast network of evil, tangled with witches, heretics, and Satan himself. To the inquisitors, werewolves were not simply beasts, they were instruments, agents of chaos, tools of the devil. In many trials, the lines blurred. Accused witches often claimed they could become animals: cats, goats, crows, and yes, wolves. Shape-shifting was a common thread in confessions. But there was a key distinction. Witches were seen as manipulators of magic, deliberate, cunning, in control of their dark arts. They made pacts, they summoned storms, they poisoned wells. Werewolves were different. They were believed to be slaves to their curse, unable to resist the transformation, driven by hunger, rage, and instinct. A weapon you couldn't reason with, a monster that couldn't be bargained with. And that made them more dangerous. The fear wasn't just in what they did, it was in what they couldn't stop themselves from doing. So when they were caught, the punishment had to be unforgettable. Executions were public, loud, chaotic, designed to shock, to terrify anyone watching, to make sure no one, not even the innocent, would dare harbor sympathy for the beast. It wasn't just justice. It was a warning carved in fire and screams. The last werewolf trials faded by the 18th century, but their echoes remain. In modern psychology, there's a condition called clinical lycanthropy, where someone believes they're turning into a wolf. And mass hysteria? It's still with us. From laughing epidemics to TikTok possessions, the line between belief and madness is thinner than we like to think. The werewolves of history didn't have glowing eyes or rippling fur. They had names, they had families, they had enemies. And when the world was hungry for monsters, It found them.